I'm very happy that you asked this. So I remember I had, in one of the, during one of the jobs, I had a mentor who always used to say that, you know, you should never be afraid of the term fail, because fail actually stands for first attempt in learning.
Hi everyone. Today I'm in conversation with the champion of diversity and inclusion, Devika Nagpal. So Devika is a seasoned professional with over 18 years of work experience in India and UK. Hi Devika.
Hi, Prerna. Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to be here.
Devika has a strong background in special education needs, teachers training, and inclusive education. She has also conducted extensive trainings for parents in managing challenging behavior, screen addiction, and digital security. Currently, she is heading the inclusion and capacity building vertical at People, a Delhi based organization where she is committed to transforming education in the development sector. So, Devika, if you were not doing this profession, what would it be?
Ooh, I love that. So, if I wasn't an educator, I would definitely have my own cafe, brewing some great coffees and awesome desserts.
I can vouch for that because you're an amazing chef.
I love my coffee.
So, what are the red flags that parents and educators should look out for to support the mental well being of children?
So, it's a spectrum. Extreme of any sort should be a red flag, and it should be seen as a red flag by the parents and educators. For example, if the child suddenly has withdrawn from the family or is being too clingy to the caregiver, primary caregiver, that should be the first indication. With that, there are a lot of other things. If the child is, at a school going age, so sudden drop in the performance or no interest in studies, that is another factor.
So, in your profession as a special educator, share a funny comment that you've received.
A lot of times people come to me and they ask, अच्छा स्पेशल एजुकेशन में 1-to-1 सेशंस आप लेते हो, सो एक बच्चे को पढ़ाना तो बहुत आसान होता है ना, पूरी क्लास को पढ़ा के देखो वो बहुत मुश्किल काम है. So that is the top one.
So, how can we break the taboo around mental health discussions?
So it might sound like a cliche, but it has to start from within. So first thing I would say is educate yourself, what exactly it is. And the other thing is we have to start talking openly about it.
How about describing yourself in 3 words?
Ooh, okay. So coffee addict,
Yeah.
I'm a loyal friend, and adaptable.
So, any tips to prevent cyberbullying?
Do not leave your kids with devices unattended.
Absolutely. So, what do we need to achieve for our country to be truly inclusive?
So when it comes to our country, Prerna, if I specifically talk about inclusivity or, as such, the education system, when it comes to special and inclusive education, we already have policies and norms in place.
Yeah.
I think what we need to now focus is on its implementation and enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a conversation with the corporates where we were discussing about inclusivity, and they said that the intervention is actually needed at the education level because by the time they become adults, it's too late to intervene. So you're absolutely right that if those are implemented, it will make a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So Devika, tell us, what is one thing that parents are getting all wrong?
Ooh, don't get me started on this. And so I don't want to sound preachy, but I see a lot of kids these days, as young as 7 and 8-year-olds, having their own social media accounts. They are on Instagram, they are on Snapchat, and that is something which is really worrying as a parent, as a professional, because we are doing so much more harm to our kids by letting them on these platforms, and you cannot even imagine the kind of psychological impact these kids are going through. So parents, if you are listening to me, this is my only request. Please stop doing this. The children should not be on social media platform at least before the age of 30.
Adolescence is a tricky time. What is the one advice you'd like to give teen parents?
So, I'm a mother of a soon to be teen now, and I can totally relate to it. And there is no, I would say, rocket science in it. However, small things like talking to your child on a daily basis is something that one should do. And when I say talking to a child, actually listen to them. So, without any distractions, without your work laptop, without your mobile phone, talk to them and let them feel that you are actually hearing them. Both parents, if time allows, should, but at least one parent should be in touch with them on a daily basis. The other thing we need to be very careful about is know their friends. It is important at this age to know what kind of circle they are in, and one can make out a lot of things, and you can pick up a lot of things in case the right corrective measures have to be taken.
Right.
So talk, communicate, and be there for your children emotionally and physically both.
So there's this advice I've heard often, that be a friend to your child. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I would say that we should not replace friends as such in their life.
Yeah.
Yes, we should be friendly parent, but let their friends be friends. However, you being a parent can be always there to support them, making them understand and realize that you are going to be there for them no matter what.
I totally love this. Be a friendly parent to your child. So in this digital era, there are few concerns that didn't exist earlier. What are your thoughts around screen addiction?
Oh, screen addiction, yes. So a lot of parents, when their children turn 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds, they come up to the educators or the therapists saying that my child is addicted to the screen, watching for 4-5 hours in a day. My only question to them always is, when the child was born, when the child was 6 months old or a 1-year-old, was it the child who actually picked up your phone and started watching YouTube videos? No. It was you,
right,
who gave it, right?
Absolutely.
So it has taken the child few years to get addicted. Now you cannot expect that there's a magic wand with the school or the teachers and they will, quickly make that go away.
Yeah.
It has taken so much time.
Yeah.
It will take some time to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But for that, there are a lot of things that as parents we have to do.
Yeah.
We have to model the same behavior. For example, if I'm having meal on the dining table with my family, I should be ready to chuck my phone and not look at it while having my meal.
Absolutely.
If I'm doing that, the child is not going to listen to you. The child is watching you.
Yeah.
So it's the behavior, our behavior, how we model, how we want our children to grow up.
Yeah.
So that's my only advice.
So there are some concerns now that didn't exist earlier, and I think all parents are struggling with the answer. What is the right age to give the screens, and for how long?
Oh, never. Just kidding. So in today's age, you really cannot keep them totally away from screens. So I would say there is no, die-hard rule or a calculator that, one can actually suggest that this is the right age to start. And I don't really think that, in today's age, you can keep them away from all the screens.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I would say one thing for sure, that children as young as 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, I see them unattended, with their tablets or sometimes, just watching nonsensical YouTube videos. That is something that we need to stop. The other thing very important that as parents and as caregivers, I would say, we need to be really careful about. Yes, you can give them some screen time, and every household now would have a very different, set of rules.
Absolutely.
For example, at my home, I always had this 45 minutes screen time rule.
Yeah.
So I would make sure that, my daughter gets that 45 minutes and where she's watching some, good videos like Barney, where she would learn something as well. And of course, fun is also needed at that age.
Right.
But giving them a screen during their mealtime is a complete no-no and needs to be avoided.
Yeah.
So keeping these two things separate and reducing their screen time as much as possible. So never use your iPad or a mobile phone as a babysitter. So that should be the only rule I feel that parents should look at.
Absolutely. And I think having said that, there are some educational tools also that are available, some apps which are available, which the kids can be exposed to.
Absolutely. So it's all about choosing intelligently.
Absolutely.
Choose the right thing and of course minimize their screen time.
So Devika, tell us, what is the most common misconception around diversity and inclusion?
So when it comes to inclusion, I feel a lot of people have this, feeling that it requires a lot of money, it requires a lot of, resources, which actually is not true.
Okay.
All you need is the will and the motivation to just live it. Inclusion should be a part of life rather than replacing it with somebody. It should be as it is.
How can we help children develop coping skills in the faces of challenges?
I'm very happy that you asked this. So I remember I had, in one of the, during one of the jobs, I had a mentor who always used to say that, you should never be afraid of the term fail, because fail actually stands for first attempt in learning. And that is something that I have kept with me close to my heart, and that's exactly what I tell my own child or the hundreds of students that I have worked with during my career. So coping and resilience, I think, would go hand in hand. And as parents, one thing that we have to really keep in mind always is saying no to our children, because that is something I see these days, that the children do not know how to take no for an answer.
Yeah.
So saying yes to their each and every whims and fancies and demands is something we as parents have to stop and let them understand that sometimes it is okay to not get what they want or not have what they want.
So do you want to share a success story where inclusion made a significant impact in a child's life?
Oh, there are many. But if you talk about one, then the story of one of my students, it stands out for me, which I will share. So this particular child was a part of a fully inclusive school in one of the metro cities, and for years we tried, along with the parents, to include the child in each and every class that was happening within the school.
Right.
So this child had, of course, additional learning needs and was not able to cope up with the regular curriculum rigor that so-called our board system has.
Right.
After a few years, we realized that actually by imposing inclusion, we were actually excluding the child. The child was not able to find the right social setup, the right kind of friends who would support, his or her growth.
Yeah.
And finally, we had to take that difficult call. Along with the parent support, we were able to find a place where the child actually found, his or her own calling.
Wow.
So that sometimes, I feel as educators and parents, we do have to realize when to actually include the child by not excluding them.
Absolutely. So this brings me to the question that how do we ensure that these inclusion efforts are sustainable and long-term?
See, when it comes to any child, whether the child has any additional needs or not, I think what we really have to focus on is their skill building.
Yeah.
I always say this to the parents I meet or any professional from my field, that do not worry about whether the child will learn to read or write.
Yeah.
They will eventually get that.
Absolutely.
But it is the skill, it is the independent living skill you have to focus on. The right kind of attitude, the right kind of social setup would definitely help the child. And I think that is something that we have to, as educators, really understand and realize that.
Yeah. Do you feel schools are inclusive in the true sense of the word?
So if we specifically talk about inclusion in education sector, I seriously feel that there is dearth of good trained teachers in our field. So, and when I talk about good trained teachers, I'm not talking about special educators or therapists, because they definitely have that knowledge. However, the onus is actually on the schools and the colleges to make sure that they are providing that kind of platform to all the staff members, to all the stakeholders, that they get the right kind of training, continuous professional development, and that is where I see there is dearth and a big gap, and we have a long way to go. Once we tackle this problem, I don't see why we cannot have an impactful inclusion and a sustainable one.
Absolutely. And I think then only we'll be truly inclusive in the true
True.
sense of the word. What advice would you give to educators and parents to create a more supportive environment for the children?
So, Prerna, inclusivity is a big term, right? So, when we talk about inclusion, we should always keep one thing in mind that, we are including everybody in it. So, it's not just about, making them aware or empathetic towards their friends, who could be having additional learning needs or additional behavioral needs, but it also talks about how do you talk to your house help at home. So it starts from home. So the way we talk, the kind of words that we use, and the kind of behavior we have towards people in general is something that our children imbibe. So it's actually about how you model your behavior, because we have to keep one thing in mind, that children are listening to us and are looking at us all the time.
So thank you so much, Devika, for this insightful discussion. I'm sure there's a lot of takeaways for parents and educators here.
Thank you so much, Prerna. And I am so glad that you picked up this topic, because this is something so close to my heart. And I feel as parents, it is so important for everybody to be aware of these minute things. So thank you so much for picking up such a great topic.
Totally my pleasure. And I think it was a good choice to have you talk about this topic, because you're an expert and you've been working in this field for over a decade.
My pleasure.
So I learned a lot today. I'm sure you did too. Stay tuned for the next guest now.